We're learning new information tonight from Monday's officer-involved crash and shooting. Investigators from Dayton Police, Trotwood Police, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office giving updates this morning on the horrifying chain of events. Lydia Bice brings us what they said.
The latest news this evening is that a felonious assault charge was filed in Montgomery County Common Pleas Court this afternoon for the suspect in this case, now identified as 54-year-old James Skirvin. Now, we also know that both the Trotwood police officer and Skirvin remain here at Miami Valley Hospital, which you see behind me, in stable condition. Now, the name of that Trotwood police officer has not yet been released, but Trotwood Police Chief Eric Wilson told us today that he suffered non-life-threatening injuries, remains in stable condition, and that the whole department is hoping for a speedy recovery. Now, this entire incident began at Voyager Village Mobile Home Park on Monday when a white pickup truck attempted to run over a woman, later identified as the driver's daughter in 911 calls. Trotwood police officers arrived to the scene to assist Skirvin's daughter, and then,
while on scene, Trotwood PD officers observed the suspect in a white Ford truck circle back through the area, pointing a long gun at them.
That is when a high-speed chase began, leading to that horrifying crash on US 35 and Liscombe Drive. Now, Skirvin doesn't have a criminal history here in the Miami Valley, but we did find that he was arrested in northern Kentucky 3 different times between 1998 and 2001. And now, Monday's incident is also raising questions about his mental health.
He's wanting suicide by cop. He's wanting suicide by cop. This is coming from his brother.
And I know you said the suspect didn't have any local criminal history. What about history of mental illness or anything? Do we know?
I don't have any information on that.
So again, this afternoon, a felonious assault charge was filed in the Montgomery County Common Pleas Court for Skirvin for that initial call at the mobile home park in Trotwood. But it's unknown what additional charges he may face at this time. Back to you.
Lydia, thank you. And of course, we've been keeping you up to date on air and online throughout the entire week. We will keep bringing you updates as we learn more as well. And you can find all our coverage right now at Dayton247now.com. Thankfully, no one hurt in this vacant house fire tonight on East 4th Street. Crews were sent to the 2100 block around 7 o'clock tonight. Dayton fire crews say the home was boarded up, but the wind pushed the flames directly into the house next door.
Our priorities shifted pretty quickly from putting out the vacant house fire to making sure that it didn't extend to the occupied house next door. Due to the heavy volume of fire and the way the wind was blowing, the fire did get into the occupied house next door and cause pretty extensive damage.
An adult and 2 children were in the home at the time, but they were able to get out safely before crews even arrived on the scene. That family, though, is displaced. The Red Cross is helping them find a place to stay. The district chief says the fire is suspicious and now under investigation. The Ohio House voted to override Governor DeWine's veto of the controversial SAFE Act. House Bill 68 would ban gender-affirming care for Ohio minors and ban transgender athletes from women and girls sports. Kate Seifert explains what happened at the State House today.
Debate on this vote went on for over an hour before a decision was finally made by lawmakers inside this House chamber earlier today. But as you mentioned, those House lawmakers deciding to override the veto that Governor DeWine made on House Bill 68 last week. Now, as we have been telling you for weeks, House Bill 68, also known as the SAFE Act, would ban gender-affirming care for minors and prevent transgender youth from playing in women's sports. Supporters of the bill called the governor's veto an error, saying the bill was constructed to protect kids. Meanwhile, those who supported the governor's veto today called it a dark day and say it is an attack on the rights of Ohio families.
That was Kate Seifert reporting. Now, in a statement, Governor DeWine says, quote, "I continue to believe it is in the best interests of children for these medical decisions to be made by the parents, not by the government." A live look behind me tonight from the U.S. Capitol building, where both the Republican House Judiciary and Oversight Committees passed contempt charges to hold Hunter Biden in contempt for failing to comply with a subpoena. Now, this sets the stage for a full House vote to recommend criminal charges against the president's son, and it comes after Hunter Biden himself showed up in a surprise visit to sit front row to today's hearings.
The Republican chairs today then are commandeering an unprecedented resolution to hold someone in contempt who has offered to publicly answer all their proper questions. The question there is, what are they afraid of?
Now, the president's son said he would testify only in a public forum because Republicans' probe is illegitimate. Former President Donald Trump will not speak during the closing arguments at his New York civil fraud trial. Now, the judge said today that Trump didn't agree to conditions he set in order for him to speak in a statement, so he won't be allowed. Now, those conditions include not campaigning or complaining about the court and its staff. This case against Trump alleges the former president and his two sons defrauded banks and insurance companies. Well, back here at home, things are feeling not just cold, but almost bitterly cold by the end of the week anyway.
Yes, going to feel this Arctic air, coldest we've seen so far this season, arrive by this weekend, start of next week. It is going to feel so much colder than what we have out here right now. But tomorrow, not too bad. Quiet weather, a little breezy for our Thursday. Heading into Friday, that's when things start to change. We got a big storm system arriving. This is going to be bringing us rain, wind, potentially some gusts greater than 45 miles per hour, which could be a concern. So we're going to watch that. And then also a little windy, as well as some snow showers Saturday. Not anticipating much as far as accumulation goes, unfortunately. For us here in the Miami Valley, 30s currently, 33 in Dayton, 32 in Springfield. We got 32 in Urbana right now, 30 in Richmond. Got a couple of snow showers back off to our west. We will track the potential for a few of those right here in the Miami Valley overnight. This is about 4 a.m. Again, a couple of snow showers around with those temperatures dropping into the 30s, but it moves out by tomorrow afternoon. I'll be tracking the rest of our week into the weekend and also that Arctic air that will be arriving, how cold we'll get. That's coming up.
Well, the fight against childhood hunger gearing up in the Miami Valley. Dayton 24/7 now is joining 3 local organizations in a month-long campaign. The Super Bowl of Caring has already kicked off and goes through the weekend of the big game in February. Jenna Bork found out why this initiative is so important.
The goal of the Super Bowl of Caring is to raise awareness about childhood hunger while collecting donations. We spoke with 2 of the 3 organizations, the Food Bank Inc. and House of Bread, and they both wanted to drive 1 point home.
People in our community need to eat every single day of the year. Hunger isn't something that goes away in January or February.
While people gear up for the big game in February, a different kind of Super Bowl will be going on in the Miami Valley. Through February 12th, Dayton 24/7 Now is partnering with 3 local food pantries and other area organizations to fight child hunger during the Super Bowl campaign. The chief development officer at the food bank says this time of year is critical.
After we leave the holiday season, when we do the bulk of our fundraising and the bulk of our food raising, we really kind of start to taper off in donations. So this quick boost of, food donations, any fund donations will really help supply us throughout February, March, and hopefully some into April as well.
The Food Bank Inc., which serves Montgomery, Greene, and Preble counties, told me more than 16% of children are food insecure, and that usually means their families are too.
We're seeing a lot of high need in the community right now. Our drive-through alone is seeing anywhere from 350 to 400 households coming through weekly. Our partner agencies are reporting the same thing.
Both organizations have programs geared toward child hunger. House of Bread has a family dining room that helps the family as a whole.
We can also help moms and dads who are struggling to provide for their children's basic needs by meeting that immediate need of lunch, but also helping connecting them to the resources they need.
And the food bank offers a good-to-go backpack program.
And that's kind of a weekend meal kit program. So it's a quick bag of easy, pop-top, kid-friendly foods that goes home with the child every Friday.
Again, this campaign runs through February 12th. You can donate at Universal One, Credit Union, or Dots Market, or just go onto our website, Dayton247now.com. Find the link and we will have the information there. Back to you.
Jenna Lee, thank you. And our partners will be accepting food and monetary donations throughout the area through February 12th. Those donations will then be distributed to 3 local organizations, the Food Bank, For Love of Children, or Flock, and the House of Bread. You can help by grabbing your phone, scan that QR code you see right there to make a donation. Again, that drive runs through February 12th. Well, new bipartisan legislation tonight wants to make Dayton the forever home of the National VA History Center. Ohio Senators J.D. Vance and Sherrod Brown, along with Congressman Mike Turner and Greg Landsman, just introduced the bill today. The center would preserve VA-related artifacts, records, and other historic materials at the VA hospital. Senator Brown says the center should be here because of the history.
We know the Dayton VA is one of the oldest in the country. This history center belonged there, and they save lives. They know how to treat veterans, and I want to honor the history of the VA so people really understand.
The Dayton VA Medical Center's campus is already designated a National Historic Landmark. The partnership would not only help honor U.S. service members, but also help with economic development and tourism in the area. In a statement, Senator J.D. Vance says, quote, "This institution is steeped in an incredible history, and I am proud to sponsor legislation to honor the crucial role the Department of Veterans Affairs and its predecessors have played for over a century in providing the care our veterans need." Congressman Mike Turner saying on X tonight that this critical piece of legislation will preserve the Department of Veterans Affairs' history of outstanding work and document the special relationship between the United States and our veterans. Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie announcing he is ending his campaign for the White House. The reason he is dropping out of the race next. And Iran-backed rebels continue to cause trouble in the Red Sea, and patience is running thin. The warning from the Secretary of State tonight.
And Arctic air will eventually be taking over, but first, our next weather maker. I'll time it all out for you. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
winter storm front is now hitting all across the United States, and in California, one person is dead, 3 others hurt after an avalanche at a ski resort. Abigail Vowerwick brings us the very latest.
We're here at the Village at Palisades, where the parking lot has stayed empty throughout the day since the mountain closure earlier this morning. At today's press conference, we heard from the Placer County Sheriff's Office as well as Palisade officials that the investigation into what caused the avalanche is still ongoing. As of this afternoon, search and rescue efforts have concluded. The slope where the avalanche occurred, KT-22, was opening for the first time today. We heard from skiers that immediately after the avalanche, first responders, emergency crews, and even other skiers jumped in to help search. We have confirmed that there were 3 injuries and 1 man was killed in the avalanche. When asked about opening the terrain on a day with considerable avalanche danger in the forecast, Palisade officials say that the conditions today were not a concern.
Now let's give you a live look right now from Troy, from our Troy traffic camera. Actually, really pretty out there tonight, but I can see that flag moving a little bit. Natalie, do we got more wind in our forecast?
Yeah, a little breezy tomorrow, but by Friday, Saturday, wind is going to be becoming a pretty big concern for us. For right now, though, it's quiet. We do have a chance for a couple snow showers overnight, as we do have a quick little disturbance making its way through. So don't be surprised between about 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. if you have a couple snow showers around. Not expecting significant impacts. Temperatures will be in the lower 30s. We'll stay pretty cloudy for our Thursday, but I do think we'll see some sunshine, especially for our southern counties. Highs will be back up into the lower 40s, but it's also going to be a little breezy. Some gusts tomorrow, maybe up to about 30 miles per hour. But our next weather maker arrives on Friday, so there is the potential that the leading edge of this will have some snow or a wintry mix, but it quickly transitions to rain for us by our Friday afternoon as temperatures climb back up into the 40s. Good soaking rain, not quite as much as our last system, but we could see close to an inch of rain once this system moves through. And then by our Friday night, I should say, early Saturday morning, transition to some snowfall, could see some light accumulations. Going to talk about those wind gusts and how strong they could be coming up.
Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie has suspended his campaign for the White House.
And it's clear to me tonight that there isn't a path for me to win the nomination.
The former New Jersey governor has been the most outspoken critic of former President Donald Trump in the GOP primary. Christie says he wants to make sure he's not enabling Trump, who's still the party frontrunner, to become president again. The announcement comes ahead of tonight's Republican presidential debate, which only Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis qualified for. Christie's departure could give Haley a boost in the polls. Now tonight we have House Republicans who are looking to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over what they call a dereliction of duties. However, there are warnings against that move. A bipartisan group of legal scholars sent a letter to House Speaker Johnson today saying impeaching a cabinet member over policy disagreements is unconstitutional. Democrats at today's first impeachment hearing said the same, but Johnson is standing firm.
You cannot impeach a cabinet secretary because you don't like the president's policies. Let me say that again. You cannot impeach a cabinet secretary because you don't like a president's policies. That's not what impeachment's for. That's not what the Constitution says.
We live in unprecedented times. We never had a cabinet secretary who openly flouted federal law, who refused to enforce the law.
The GOP is going this route because there's more support for ousting Mayorkas than impeaching President Biden. If successful, Mayorkas would be the second ever cabinet official impeached in American history. So that leads us to today's question of the day. We want to know, do you think Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas should be impeached? Share your opinion by voting on this poll at Dayton247now.com. Click the question of the day heading in the news tab. As for the results of yesterday's question, we asked, do you think the charges against former President Donald Trump are legitimate or political? More than 23,000 of you voted. Now 38% of you say it's legitimate. 67% say it's political. Well, the international community is losing patience with the Houthi rebels as they continue to wreak havoc in the Red Sea. The Iran-backed rebel group's largest attack yet was stopped yesterday after U.S. and British Navy shot down projectiles. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the Middle East with a warning for the Houthis.
There'll be consequences for the Houthis' actions, We've also repeatedly tried to make clear to Iran, as other countries have as well, that the support that they're providing to the Houthis, including for these actions, needs to stop.
Blinken says the U.S. isn't the only country that sent that message to Iran. The Yemen-based rebels say the attacks are aimed at stopping Israel's war on Hamas, but their targets have little or no connection to Israel. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council demanded a halt on those attacks in the Red Sea while condemning them at the same time. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby calling them unlawful, reckless, and escalatory.
But make no mistake, at the time, U.S. vessels, commercial and military, and dozens of other merchant vessels were transiting in the area of this attack. Had they been hit, innocent lives very well could have been lost.
A U.S.-led coalition of nations has been patrolling the Red Sea to try to prevent the attacks. A live look tonight from our Eco Plumbers Skycam. Let's send it out to Chief Meteorologist Natalie Walters.
Well, quiet and cold out here now on our Watson's Weather patio, but it's going to be much colder by next week at this time. It's going to be quite a different story. Bitterly cold air will be making its way in, but before it heads its way in, we have a very strong system that will be pushing through. This is going to be bringing us some pretty strong wind gusts to our region. Now, tomorrow we'll be dealing with some wind gusts, perhaps up to about 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. Those winds will start to calm by our Thursday evening. Friday, our next weather maker moves in. So this is when we start to see those winds really begin to increase. This is a look at potential wind gusts on the higher end. Potentially, we could see some wind gusts up to around 50 miles per hour. Now, these wind gusts could cause some downed tree limbs, some small trees to be down, as well as some isolated power outages. So we're watching this closely. We're going to see if this keeps its strength together and if we could see these wind gusts potentially continue Friday into our early Saturday. Strong winds will also be a concern for us, with those wind gusts potentially up to 45, maybe 50 miles per hour. So we're going to be watching this very closely. Likely a wind advisory will be issued for our area, maybe a high wind warning. So we'll be keeping our eye out on this. And then also we're tracking that Arctic air. I'll have a look at how cold we'll get coming up.
The American Red Cross in need of blood donations as donations fall to their lowest level in 20 years. How you can help reduce the dire necessity. And a federal program to help reduce hunger around the nation. How it will feed millions of kids this summer when school is out. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.